Again, let's read from the book of Luke chapter 14, verse 28, which is basically the one and only scripture we're going to read. Luke 14, verse 28. Luke 14, verse 28.
For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it?
Okay, so look at your neighbor and read it to your neighbor. If you get to this place, you put build a marriage. Look at your neighbor. 1, 2, go.
For which of you, intending to build a marriage, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to marry her?
Amen. Every man is a building. Every woman is a building. Every man is a building. Every woman is a building. Remember that one of the things, one of the characteristics of a husband, it's a gardener. Every husband is a gardener. So you are expected to groom the woman. That is to build the woman. And the woman must also be willing to be built, because gardeners are known with a few instruments. One of those is what? Hoe. That is to plant. Yes? Rake. To gather. What does not belong to the garden, yeah? What? Watering can to water the flower, the yam, or whatever it is. Again? It says what? Power. Okay. However, scissors. It's called shears. Which of the banks? All right, so there's the scissors. And it's not a normal scissors. So from time to time, you will experience the scissors. But the essence of the scissors is to keep the flower in shape. To keep the flower in shape. Because if you don't keep the flower in shape, the flower will be shapeless. And if the flower in any building, front of any building, looks shapeless, anybody that passes will mock the person that lives in that building. In fact, the proof that nobody lives in a building is how shapeless the flower in front of the building is. If it's not well attended to, as a matter of fact, if you don't mow your lawn abroad, you are likely to go to jail for it. So everybody, or most people, if they don't have the money to employ someone who will come do that for them, they will get a mowing machine and go around and do that at least twice or once in a week. Praise God. So whether he is able to finish, God is not interested in starting as much as he is in finishing. Whether he's able to finish. Now, whether he said he does not sit down and count the cost, whether he has. So there are things to have before you build what you want to build. Whether he has enough in his capacity, that is, you have developed moral capacity enough. If you know your mind never there has no marry. Are you getting me? Because you don't have enough yet. If you know you don't have the morality to focus on one person, don't get married. Because the day you get married, you are blinded over every other person other than the one whom you have married. Praise God. Hallelujah. All right, you may be seated. I'm sure the rain has deprived some people that the rain has to deprive, amen. But let's bow down our heads as we pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the privilege to come again before your holy presence. We haven't come to hear the word of man, we have come to hear the word of God. Therefore, Lord, we pray that you will inspire our spirit. You will speak to our heart. For those you need to rebuke, rebuke them. For those you need to exalt, exalt them. For those you need to inspire, inspire them, O Lord. For those you need to correct, correct them, O God. Above all, let one person here leave here a changed person in the name of Jesus. For those who need to make a decision, cause them to make that decision to your glory, Father, in the name of Jesus. Amen. The tendencies of marrying someone who lives abroad. First of all, let me start by telling us that if care is not taken, because in my paper I wrote that about 70% of Nigerians desire to live abroad. True or false? Is my statistics wrong? All right. It's right, because the 70% of people sitting down here, if you have the privilege, as a matter of fact, if there is a plane that is parked in Asaba Airport, and says, if you want to travel abroad from here without saying bye to your parents, go to Asaba Airport. Will you join or not? In other words, we have more than 70% of people in Nigeria who want to travel abroad. So what is keeping some of us here is because we don't have the money. Sometimes we don't have the connection to get the visa. So, but generally speaking, most people want to travel abroad. As a matter of fact, there is a statistics that says that 4 out of 10 Nigerian families, especially in the South, 4 out of 10 Nigerian families live abroad. Your brother, sister lives abroad here. Can you see what I'm saying? So this is a known statistics. As a matter of fact, you may not have 1 naira to support your brother's business in Nigeria. But if your brother were to travel out of the country, you can sell your car or your land to sponsor him. True or false? That's the craving to travel abroad. So everybody wants to go abroad. And the reason is because the country where we live in is getting deteriorated by the day. The country is being messed up by the day. You know, sometimes I wish I could wake my father up from death and tell him what is happening now. Because before my father died in 1999, when he died, he was always telling us how bad things were in 99. I would have told him to come and see that we are no longer bad. We are now the bad. Nigeria is now the noun form of bad. Other countries are becoming us. So it's getting worse by the day. As a matter of fact, this economic statistics says that it takes about 20 years for a price of product to change abroad. So whatever you bought a candy, 20 years after, if you come, it's almost the same price or adds a little bit of cent on top. In Nigeria, when you buy a thing, my dear, buy as much as you can buy. Because if you turn your back, you are not sure of buying it again at that price. That's how bad our country has gone. But I also, permit me to digress a little bit. How many of us have voter's card? How many of us are obedient? Because let me tell you, that is the only hope so to speak, that we have for now. For now. For now. That's the only hope we have. Because I'm not talking about politics. But that's how we got here. Anytime I see the other two candidates, anytime I cite them, those men are living lies. They don't tell lies. They are living lies. Just this evening, I saw one of his statements, one of them, I won't mention. One of his statements in 2014, trying to pull down Jonathan. He said, the only way to restore electricity in Nigeria is to vote out Jonathan. Good road, vote out Jonathan. We are going to be paying you 5,000 for being unemployed. How many have received it? How many of you received it? So let me tell you, no matter what it will take, make sure that once they fix the date for presidential election, that's what I'm after. Presidential election, make sure you come out. Stay in that polling booth until you cast your vote. Let us all cast our vote and let it not count. Because the mindset is that, does it really count? I will cast it, let it not count. So I'll be justified enough that I tried my best and it didn't count than to sit at home and didn't come out. So make sure you keep your voter's card well and get ready to vote out. It's not this government because they're already out. So make sure that what looks like this government doesn't come back to power again. And we keep praying that their gang up will fail them. Because they are not quiet. Oh. The Bible says before you ever go to a strong man's house, you first of all. That's what Christians don't do. We're about to go to a strong man's house. Voter's card is one. But the main thing is what you do before. Before you visit a strong man, you bind him well. So that on that day, all the things they have planned will fail them. Who was there when Jonathan was in power? The INEC guy. So it was Jiga. You saw how Jiga failed him. If you were grown enough, that 2015, I saw how Jiga failed him. Whoever that is there now, heaven will use him to fail them. I'm telling you people because you see me, I can leave you. Did you see me here on Sunday? Was I here on Sunday? That's how you come one day, you won't see me again. I can leave you. And nothing will happen. So when I finish talking and you don't listen, I will leave you. Tendencies of marrying a guy living abroad. Now, first of all, we must understand that the majority of the people who live in Nigeria desire to live abroad. As a matter of fact, I can remember making a jest of my friend who hasn't gone out of this country before. And then I was telling him, I guess somebody must have told you or you told yourself some time ago. I told him, I said, how could it be that you live up to 40-something years in the world and you have never visited any other country of your life, in this life? That it won't be nice. I say, what's come to us? Just go to Ghana and come back. How many of you think like that too? Okay, but I was telling him because he doesn't fly. He's one friend I have that doesn't fly. Not even from Asaba to Lagos. He can't fly. He doesn't fly. He has phobia for height. The only 2 times he flied, he was almost an emergency case. Have you entered plane with such people before? Plane take off, they hold you. Or you did it. They hold you. When the plane normalizes, sorry. And like, As if you're the one that will stabilize it. His own is worse. I have entered plane with such person before. It was a woman. He had his bead. So he was praying the bead. When the plane shake, I didn't where he threw the bead. Even she couldn't find the bead again. As the one who picked the bead, I said, "Madam, continue your prayer." Praise God. So people are like that. But there are also some set of people who love to fly, but can't fly. They can't afford it. They don't have visa. They don't even have international passport. The last time you checked any embassy, they refused you. So people are like that. Many Nigerians want to live abroad, except Pastor Kospini for being a pastor. Otherwise, I forgot what I says. And then 70% of us travel, 70% of Nigerians travel abroad without intention of coming back. With no intention of coming back. Many go abroad for conference and stay there. Their conference never ends. So when anybody from Nigeria leaves Nigeria, he or she does not intend to come back. They intend to now start living there. So most people in those days will go straight to the refugee camp and report themselves and become refugees. So majority of them go there and end up being refugees. And when you become a refugee and have your refugee card, you can get into the city and do some menial jobs. And when they start doing these menial jobs in the city where they live, in the country where they live, one of the things that they do in order to settle down and get paper is to get married. Once you go abroad, you don't have papers, you are most likely, as a matter of fact, again, up to 70% of Nigerians that live abroad got married to get their papers. It's the 30% that are professionals who got there the right way and the government arranges their papers for them. But 70% go there. One of the ways that they get their papers is to get married. So that your brother, that your sister who is abroad is most likely married. They either marry genuinely or marry contract marriage. But there is marriage somewhere. The last time I went, one of the times I went, I saw hell. In fact, my first time in the US, I was with a friend who also is Rex's friend. And I saw how Nigerians are suffering. Nigerians are good. Nigerian men are good. Ladies, you don't know what you have. Nigerian men are good. Nigerian men are good, though. If a Nigerian man enters, if you see how they are pursuing Nigerian men abroad, like Chichi Sweet. Nigerian men are good. They pursue them to the point that the woman will agree for contract marriage. But once you get into that marriage, she will say it's either real or she backs out. Remember, you have paid her. Maybe it's $10,000 she's charged. Advance payment, $2,000. When green card comes out, another whatever. Okay, when you go for interview, $5,000, making it $7,000. When the green card comes out, you balance $3,000. When they collect the first $2,000, after a while, because being your wife, you guys don't live together. So you live maybe in the same city. You live in Okpanam, the woman lives in Akwebu. But from time to time, you'll be having a date with her and she'll be visiting your house, so you guys will be snapping pictures so as to use to make your argument for your papers, for your green card. So what happens is that when you begin to give her that treat, she hasn't seen a thing like that before. Their men don't give them such treats. It's only abroad that people will tell you, I'm going to take you out. And when you get there, he will eat, you pay, he pays. It's not here where you finish eating, you take away. Nigerian men are good. Appreciate what you have, because it won't be like that always. It's here you take a girl out after eating. She will ask you, you didn't tell her. Do you mind if I take away? You say, no problem. Do you mind if I get for my sister? No problem. Do you mind if I get for my friend? No problem. If you ask the third time, when you turn, you won't see me. One taken out, the guy is already in debt. Abroad, they take you out. My dear, if you hear, let me take you out abroad. If you ever go there, have your money. Oh. Those people are mean. Have your money. Oh. Because he or she feels you understand. But they know we don't understand. Praise God. So what they basically do to get their papers is to get married. And amongst the people who get married abroad, most of them are over troubled. If it's a lady that got married to a white guy or to an indigent to get her papers, after a while, that guy will start looking for something. If it's a lady or a guy who is there trying to get married to a lady, fake marriage to get papers, after a while, the same girl will start looking for something. What I'm saying by implication is that your brother's sister is married. He's married. Whether he's fake or real, but he's married. Let me also let you know that some of them, majority of the people who are abroad, maybe 40% of the Nigerians who live abroad are also frustrated. They are frustrated. They are frustrated. Some of them, what is keeping them abroad is transport. And now that flight is where it is, they are not coming back. They will die there. Few times that I've been abroad, you see them coming around you. Once they hear that you are abroad, your friends who are living there, they will come around you and aid you and take you out. Taking you out means take you to the places where you will shop. What they are looking for is what you will give them when you are leaving. It might be the $100 that I gave your brother that he sent to you a week after. Many of them have told me, Pastor, if I have transport, I will return. So don't start blaming him that he's not sending money. It's not as easy as you think. He's trapped. He's frustrated. He's more or less in prison. Now, let me tell you the questions you need to ask when a man shows up to you and says, I want to marry you, and the man lives abroad. These are questions you need to ask him. Number one question is, do you have papers? Number one is what? Do you have papers? Have you gotten your papers? What does that mean? A man who has his papers sorted out can always come back. So do you have papers is the first question. Second question, are you married there? You can just oppose on this question, how did you get your papers? By implication, you're also asking, are you married? Why? If you have to ask, are you married, in order to know the level of baggage the guy is with. If he says, yes, I got married to get my papers, the next question will be what? Are you people still together? And he says, oh no, we are not together. We have officially divorced after I got my papers. The next question will be, Were there children in that marriage? And he said, no child. Or, yes, we have two. But who is with the children? Okay, I'm with one. My wife is with one. Just know that an African man, with time, he will be with the two. Because no reasonable African man will want his seed outside. Are you understanding what I'm asking? Don't be confused. Don't be carried away by the dollar they will be sending you. Because they will send you dollar. $100 is almost 70,000. And if he sends you $100 every month, that is, he's placing your salary, 70,000 every month. Or better still, he's a very cheerful person, a very free person. He gives you 100,000 bi-weekly. So every month he's paying you 140,000. An average guy here may not give it to you. Except you're working for him. Praise God. So, are you married? Do you have children? Are you still with the woman? How many kids do you have in the marriage? The next question. What do you do for living over there? Women, I just hope you're writing it. When you think you have it in your head, it's okay. And Pastor, stop that. You're even saying, let the man confess. We have people like that. Let the man confess. No problem. I will handle it. What do you do for living? Because 50% of Nigerians that live abroad are into crime. They're into crime. That your brother is into crime. Their women, our women, do prostitution. Our men do drugs. Some of them do fraud. So you have to ask him, what do you do there? I say, actually, I'm a hustler. I'm a hustler. Once you hear I'm a hustler, my dear, don't say he didn't tell you, he has told you. It's just that you refuse to hear. But he has told you that he's a hustler. Hustler has never been a name of any profession. Is hustler medicine? Do doctors introduce themselves as hustlers? Nurses as engineers as hustlers? IT guy as hustler? No. If you're on the streets, that's where you say you are a hustler. And people who understand. Hustler means I can do anything to survive. So if he's a hustler, just know what you're getting into. If you want to be more specific, ask him what kind of hustle do you hustle? You know, we do a little bit of drug here and there, you will know. We do a little bit of fraud here and there, we will know. And let me tell you, ask these questions from the initial time before you test the dollar. If you test the dollar, it will blind you. Some of them have made this dollar well. They will even send you 100 bi-weekly, $1,000. If your account gets it, your head will pop open. As a girl that has never received 50,000 in a month, suddenly a guy sends you $1,000. You went to Western Union and saw it is in your name. You press the code, the thing they gave you. You changed it, moved it to the other side. And you're not taking keke drop. Cake, drop, aboganago. And when you take a drop for 6 months, it becomes part of you. So to leave it becomes very difficult. And the same way you can't leave the guy again. So initially, before he starts bringing dollar, ask him all these questions so you know what you're getting into. But, you know, some of you, this thing won't let you. It won't let you. But all these things I'm saying, leaving what I should be teaching you and teaching you how to marry and marry well. What I'm doing is that I am like Pilate, I'm washing my hand off your head. If I ever see you come for counseling in my office, I will curse you. After hearing this. You say, I don't know. Pastor, I didn't know it would be like that. I will show you how it will be. Two reasons why people basically want to travel abroad. Why people basically want to marry somebody who is abroad. Number one, to travel abroad. When somebody who is abroad says hi to you, you're already imagining being there. You start promising people how you will help them. Meanwhile, you're still under help. Do you remember Get Help? Eh? You remember the days of Get Help? Aye. Who Get Help chop? I know they are victims. Get help. You give help, you get help. Hi. Nigeria is a country of fraud. About 3-4 guys will just come together and just devise one means and use it and to collect billions and settle the FCC. And life continues. Praise God. One is to travel abroad. Second is to have a good life. Because no matter how poor you are, nobody is comfortable in poverty. Nobody. Poverty will never give you comfort. Never. Not before, not now. It's worse now. Now let's move into the tendencies of marrying one who lives abroad. Number one tendency. Number one tendency of marrying somebody who lives abroad is that you may not marry who you want or who you love. One monster who lives abroad can marry you. You know you don't love him. But because they said he lives in America, you say you will manage. And the guy is just looking like Okpana masquerade. You know. You you don't like him. He's obvious. Eh? Before you know it, you baptize him and start calling him baby. What's the person you should call? You call a masquerade baby. Well, you should be looking for one fowl to use and appease the gods. Praise God. So that's exactly. You are not likely to marry who you love when you want to do abroad marriage. You just be pretending. And that's why their marriages don't last. The girl wants to cross over. That's the truth. When she crosses over, she will now start telling the guy that you're not happy I agreed to marry you. His masqueradeness will appear like a matured HIV, full blown. When you look at him, you will wonder, is it this man that I said yes to? You just smile into church and get that ring and then turn the table. So, number one, you're not likely to marry who you love. Number two, he may never return to you. The marriage will continue to be distant marriage. If he doesn't have papers and he's in America, he may never return. You know how abroad people do is that when they see a girl or somebody connects them to a girl and they say they will send money, go and do the banco, go and do the bride price. And you will dress well. I had a friend when we were growing up. I've given the testimony here before. You know, Chioma, your boss's sister. Only sister. from a multi-billionaire family. A guy came from nowhere and married Chioma. All of us went to the traditional marriage. Chioma was dancing with a stranger, the younger brother to the guy. They were spreading money, everything. When the marriage finished, Chioma was at home for 10 years. The guy didn't come back. When your child should be preparing to enter secondary school, he's still waiting for the husband to return. The husband doesn't have paper. You say, aya. Better avoid it. Otherwise, you enter that record. No paper. Someone will get paper. How we go come back now? In fact, Chioma tried to meet this guy back. At that time, his brother never hammered her much that time. They tried everything. Every time Chioma went, she was refused. Every time she was refused and refused and refused. We were doing night vigil in their house in Obioma. We were doing night vigil for Chioma to just join the husband. But it's a joining that couldn't join. 10 years. Remember the question you need to ask him when he comes. Do you have? Now, let me also tell you. One of the things that is raining, not be today, it's already, don't the rains before. Guys here will know. If you bring, when you see like 20 Oyibo people, don't they look alike in your eyes? Blacks look alike in the eyes of Oyibo man. They don't know who is who. That's the way they look alike is the way we look alike. Yes. You know, it's surprising to you now. That's the way it's surprising to us and to them. Why can't we know that the difference? They know their differences. We know our differences. But we don't know, except you start staying with them after a while. You will start picking it. That's the way it is. I'm saying that to say that there are people who are abroad, Europe, America, that never ever had a passport, international passport they don't have. What people do is that when they get abroad, Europe, they will stamp. If they will meet immigration there, because corruption is everywhere, they will stamp them out and then send that passport with the visa down to me in Nigeria, who is his friend. I will use that visa, meet immigration in Nigeria, they will stamp it entrance that I've landed, and then I will use it and go back. When I'm leaving a Nigerian airport, we know ourselves. When I look at it, I know it's not you, but that person is also bribed. He will stamp as though it's you. Because once you take off from Nigeria, any Western country you land, they don't know who is who. So you have seen now that the man that wants to marry you don't even have passport. You just need to pay. Sometimes you pay $2,000, 2,000 euros, $4,000 to 4,000 euros, depending on the bargain between the owner, who is in Europe, and you in Nigeria. Once you land in Europe and they stamp you in again, you carry his passport and his visa and give to him and balance him his money and enter street. They will arrest you. You'll be like spirit. They didn't see the way you entered. You are not anywhere. You are not captured. You are not in the record. And the same man who is not in the record will enter street, make a little bit of money, send it to you, he want to marry you. You will say yes. How will he come? How will he come? How will the marriage take place? Ask them, do you have paper? If he has paper, he should show you the paper. If you have a cousin who lives in the city, let them go and check him out and prove that indeed this guy get paper and he can come back. Or give the condition that I agree to marry you, but on the condition that you must come back. Are you learning? So, second tendency, like I said, is that you may never You may never travel to join him. Forget it. Third tendency, another tendency is that he's likely to have wife and kids. And if he has wife and kids, some of them, in a bid to marry fake, it becomes original. Oyibo now begins to love him. Even him begins to love Oyibo. So they now marry real. And an average Nigerian do not want to really marry Oyibo. After marrying Oyibo, he knows that his life will end in Oyibo land. And no African wants to end in Oyibo land. They want to have one day that they will return back home. So he will start looking for a home wife. So if you are the unfortunate home wife, what will happen is that you will never travel to join him because he already has a family. So you will remain Nigerian wife. What he will do, he will come in here, visit you. So he's a polygamist. He will come here, visit you, do whatever he will do with you. You will give birth. So whereas people are saying congratulations to him there, congrats, but they will coding it. If you live abroad, they code it. Everybody know themselves. Are you getting me? They say your chicken don't hash. Oh. He say yes, you don't hash. The Igbo woman says, what are you talking about? You have a chicken? Yeah. Yeah, I actually have a poultry in Nigeria. I have a poultry in Nigeria. Akwagebo poultry. Now you be the poultry, the chicken where they has. So you will never go there. How will you go now? If the Oyibo woman has an inclination that you are here in Nigeria, he will just give him an ultimatum. He say, if I see her here, both you and her will die. And believe me, he will obey. So whereas you are here struggling, I want to come outside. How can I marry a husband that I cannot join? My dear, just don't waste your energy. You no go join. You won't join. You already joined to Nigeria. And unfortunately, the Bible says he that is joined to the living, there is hope. Not he that is joined to Nigeria. If you join to Nigeria, there's no hope. You're not going anywhere. Another tendency is that you are at the risk of losing him, depending on what he does. How many of you have relatives in South Africa? You have a relative in South Africa. You have a relative in Malaysia. You are not dodging them. I'm calling the places where it happen. If your relative is in Malaysia, is in South Africa, is in Cyprus, is in Turkey, is in Thailand, my dear, don't bother. Any day they tell you, say they don't kill him. No, say they don't kill him. Because they do crime, they do drugs. So if that guy who is doing drugs in Thailand wants to marry you and you agree, you can lose him any moment. Because money may land and he will be greedy and not want to share it the way he should share it. He will be killed. So you haven't even met your husband, but you are not a widow. Widow of who? Widow to the spirit husband. Young people, be very careful. What we are talking about is that I need you to control your greed. Control your greed. A young man here is approaching you, begging you, because he doesn't have money. He's not like it now. You are talking him down, not knowing that is your savior. Right on without an offering. Praise God. Amen. So you're likely to lose him. The next tendency is that he also may be going to jail. Most people who live abroad, especially in these places I've called, they are in and out of jail. He may tell you, I'm coming back in July. By June, he will go to jail. From jail, they give them opportunity to call. So he will call from jail and say, Kai, I won't be coming back again. It will be next year. Meanwhile, he's in 3 years old. But you push it next year. Next year, you push it the other year on this. His daytime is served. So you are now married, but you have 3 years. The man married you in jail. Another tendency. There is no trust in such marriage. The man will never trust you. One is because he knows what he's doing there. So it's natural to assume that you're also doing the same thing here. And as a matter of fact, you also most likely will be doing the same thing here. Because once he stays abroad and stay abroad for 3 years, he comes back once. That once he stays for 2 weeks. And out of that 2 weeks, you only have 10 days with him. And then he goes again to come back in the next year. And we're entering into Harmattan, entering into rainy season. Nobody say you were single, because you have started testing. It's not like you are now single. You are now married, but you are not married. There is no way. It's only God of heaven. And if that God of heaven did not direct you to say no to him, you will become one public toilet in Asaba. Because he can't be reached. He can't be reached. So you won't trust him. He will be abroad calling all your friends, asking them your moves. You don't have anybody to call. If he doesn't pick, he's hustling. If you don't pick, you're with a man. So is that what you want to suffer? The next thing. Of course, it connects to the next one. He will deprive you of emotional connection, and emotional connection which encompasses sex also. Because marriage is honorable with bed undefiled. But when marriage is constructed, bed should be defiled every day if it's possible. And then he has charged you up as a woman and left you. How will you manage your life? So you will be emotionally bankrupt. There are times that a woman needs a man. Not because he needs you, as in, or the other room. She needs to talk to a man. She needs somebody to cry to. She needs somebody to put her head on the shoulder. She needs somebody to tell her it's okay. And then now you're married and the person is not there. The next tendency, which is connecting to the other one, your chances to cheat is very high. Very high, 90/10. Your chances to cheat is plenty. One is that he will send you one Tokubo vehicle that he bought accidented. Sent it to one friend in Lagos who worked on it, sprayed it on Achakubene. And they'll bring it home for you. And you'll carry it and be doing buga in town. And any guy that sees you doing buga in town, those gigolo guys, they'll start following you behind because they think you have money. And before you know it, they will start sharing the money that is not there. The guy sends you $100, you give him 30. So they are funding you, you're funding somebody. And if a guy corners you like that, one of the greatest things you'll be running away from is blackmail. And you enter into the bondage of blackmail. Let him not say a word. So he's officially married to you. The other one, unofficial. You'll be running from blackmail. Blackmail. If you quarrel, you beg. If you get him angry, you beg. If he gets you angry, you beg. Either ways, you are the beggar. I'm saying that because this is the reality of life. Pastor, why are you treating this kind of thing in church? No, I was treating it in the mosque. When it's a day-to-day thing that people bring to my office on a daily. The church of today, I've told you, is not like the church of yesterday. In the 90s and 80s, this is not the kind of church we had then. People that walk into church in those days are people who are sanctified. People who are born again. Now church is like an association. I love House on the Rock. I love the way they dress. Some people came here because of the way we dress. I love the way they sing. When their choir sing like this, you just feel like you're in heaven. But when we finish singing and you walk out of it, you enter club immediately and feel like you're in hell. That's the kind of church we have. Church on Sunday, club on Friday. Now club is no longer a Friday thing. Some clubs are daily. And even if one is not daily, there is one for Tuesday, the other one Wednesday, the other one, by the time you do it, your week is occupied. The next. Obviously, both of you may not have made good choices because of the circumstances surrounding the marriage. One, you don't like him. Two, he also doesn't like you. He was connected to you. You accepted the connection based on the desperation that you want to get married to a abroad person. So even if you guys end up living together abroad, you are not his choice. He's not your choice. Another and the last for now is that you're likely to raise your children alone. Your children will grow up with no father figure. Because what he does is that every year he will come and impregnate you and go. And you start raising the child. Next year he will come again. While you are still carrying the one that is not yet 1 year, he will because, and some of them are so wicked, they want you to be busy. As long as they are impregnating you, no man will come close to you. That's their mindset. So, every time. And if you have them 3, he will leave you alone. Reason is because 3 is a handful. If you go for school run, bait the child, do this, do that, everything, my dear, your head go cool. So do you want your children to grow without a father figure? Video call father that will never see in 10 years. Call my father, let me say hi to daddy. And the child knows the face of daddy or doesn't know the height of the daddy. And 2, 3, 5 years after, the daddy will come back. Junior, that's your daddy. No, it's not my daddy. You know, children don't pretend. They don't pretend. It's not my daddy. It will take another 2 weeks to convince Junior that indeed, now your daddy. Junior will go and say, are you my daddy? How painful will it be? Both for you as a mother and for the Nguro as a husband. All of you will be embarrassed. Because anytime he's talking to Junior, he's just before a good setting. And the Junior, when a cripple is sitting there, you don't know who is cripple. You don't know who is walking. He can't be making call and be walking now. So he's just, facing the horn and smiling and speaking grammar. And Junior's sense can't capture the face well. Okay, capture the face, but can't match it with the movement. Is somebody learning? So, Pastor, what is the solution? Luke 14:8 is the solution. Before any man, any woman gets into such marriage, I've shown you a little bit of the cost. Can you face this? Or do you want to marry because Nkechi has married, Anita married, Perpetua married, Cynthia married, this person married, it's only remaining me. And you get into one nonsense called marriage. Especially when the people they are married are within Nigeria, and suddenly you that is about to marry late, so to speak, in your calendar late, and somebody now is coming from abroad and say, I knew that God had planned for me. I knew it. My dear, it's not planned. The devil have dug your grave. So walk into it and be buried peacefully. You must develop the tenacity to say no when such person comes. Ask him, one of the questions to ask him, if the person is a graduate, what did you study before you left Nigeria? It will give you an inclination of what he's doing there. If he says, I studied medicine, I studied nursing, I studied engineering, I'm an IT guru when I was in Nigeria, you will know that he's most likely working there. But if you tell you, I read mass communication, I read linguistic, my dear, forget that thing. It's not doing anything there. It's your Igbo man you're communicating to. What do you know that you're communicating? Who will employ you as a mass communicator? Abroad. You've not read anything? It's mass communication. They will publish, you go for interview, mass communication. When they can't even hear you, you have accent. You're speaking, they don't hear. As in they don't understand. Because you don't have the capacity to twist your tongue and talk the way they do. And you say, I came here to work. Oh, really? Let me tell you, when I travel most times, I know I can switch and do fune, but it's this madam my fune seafood nonsense too. So I don't care again. I remember my last trip to the UK. I was in a bus. I was directed where to stop. I called the place I wanted to stop. The driver looked at me and called it again for me. I said, whatever. Now you know. Say you know where I'm dropping, eh? Whether I call it whatever, drop me there. See me, you want to embarrass? Can you pronounce anything in Igbo? If I saw Bogonogo, can you pronounce it? Why would somebody laugh at me because I can't pronounce your language? Can you pronounce my language? So don't let anybody put inferiority complex on you. We are trying. Africans are trying. We are speaking their language. They can't speak our own. They can't speak our own. They are there, relaxing. Tell them to pronounce to just chika, chibike. All right. Say no if you know you can't pay this price. Number 2, if you're already in it, my dear, don't pretend about it. Keep praying for him. Keep praying. An average person who lives abroad is under a hot seat. There's a lot of pressure. Cousin, auntie, in-law, outlaw. Everybody's on him. Uncle send money, brother send money, everything send money. So he's under pressure. So the tendency of going into crime is plenty. So be praying for your husband. If it's your husband, be praying. If you're ready in it, be praying for him. So you will come back in one piece. The next one. You have to be open. If you accept him, be open to accept whatever the marriage brings to you. Be open to accept his children. Because you're likely to have steps. Stepdaughter, stepson. You are likely to have them. So if you accept him, be open. Because he may not tell you about this until 10 years. And one day he will call you after you have given 3 and he has 2 there. He will tell you, honey, there's something I want to tell you. He said, what is it? He said, you know, I feel I cannot keep it anymore. After 10 years, you can't keep it anymore. You're a thief. You can't keep it anymore. Not after 1 year. Not after 6 months. 10 years. My dear, you can keep something for life. And so actually I have two children. a girl and a guy. Actually, they are teenagers now. You don't know what to do because will you back out at that level? It has 19 and 18. You have 10 and 12. My dear, just allow them to blend. Allow them to blend. If they are not English speaking, just start learning Spanish, depending on where they are. Say no if you can't cope. Say no if you can't cope. Don't manage. You are not a manager. You won't be able to manage. Say no if you can't cope. Have you been blessed this evening?